Thank you for tuning into this yin yoga video. The class today is going to be focusing on self-love in honor of February and Valentine's Day. We'll kind of work in to the area of the heart and the chest each week, maybe taking a new take. And this time we're really going to focus on self-love. So we're going to be working in some really gentle, easeful poses where we can just tap in, see how we're doing, get that mind-body connection going. And then some offerings to be gentler with yourself today. Sometimes we get caught up in that go, go, go. We have to perform to have value, and we really don't. So if something's not working for you today, take that as an offering that your body just needs rest, and right, just kind of be one with that. For props today, you're going to want a yoga strap. If you don't have one, a long sleeve shirt or a belt or dog leash could work really well too. And then I have a Corgeous ball, which is this yoga tune-up ball product here. You see it's filled with air. It's kind of squishy. And if you don't have one of these, you could do a little throw pillow, or even a stuffed animal would work if you can find one of those kicking around your house. And it basically will provide that gentle massage. And we'll get started laying on our backs today. So in this butterfly pose, I'm going to take the Corgeous ball and set that aside. I actually don't need it for right now, but I'm going to find two props. I have blocks, and those will go outside the hip area so that they can catch my legs. And then you can come to lay down on your back. We'll start with the knees bent, and then as the feet come to the ground, bring them a little closer towards each other. And then we'll let the knees fall open, and the blocks provide a nice support so that gravity doesn't pull them down too much. And then go ahead, rest your right hand on your abdomen, and your left hand will go towards your heart. This placement of the hands can be really nice to foster that mind-body connection. We can feel the movement of our body with breath. You might feel the temperature of your body, pumping of the blood. And then as you notice all these things working in your body, these functions that take us through the day, allow us to do the things we want to do, we'll cultivate a little bit of just gratitude or thankfulness to our bodies for doing all that they do right. It can be easy to fall into that trap of, or this hurts, or I wish this was a different way. But just a moment to say thank you to ourselves. And now we'll move both hands to our abdomen, the lower part of the belly. So we've said hello to self, we've said thank you to self. But we can also ask. And it's a fairly common notion that we should do self-care, right? That we should create time to check into ourselves, but it's a very radical and hard to practice habit. And we can get caught into this intellectualized thinking about what we need to do. But it could be just as simple as asking and listening. And you don't need to worry that nothing is going to come up or intuitively pop up. But just to create the space and ask yourself, what do I need? You could say it to yourself a few times. And then we'll have a few moments of silence just to see what pops up. Right? It's not a thinking, it's just a waiting and listening. Being okay with that awkward silence. We'll release the hands from the abdomen and you can bring them to the outer edges of the legs, guide the knees back towards each other, let the bottom of the feet come to the mat. You could stay just like that or take the feet a little bit wide so that the knees can fall in towards each other. This is a little counter, a very gentle internal rotation to that external rotation pose that we just did. And so notice what came up from you in that last pose when you were listening. And then we'll take the feet and the knees hip width distance and we're going to come into a twist. So I'll step into my feet so that my hips hover just slightly off the ground and I'll bring them over to the right side of the mat. My knees will come in towards my chest. And then as I let my knees fall to the left, it could be handy to have your prop. You could use the block or the Corgeous ball or some combination so that the knees fall in. Now, if that right shoulder can stay down to the ground, and it might not unless you prop underneath your left knee, that will create a nice restful spot for the right side of the chest to open. And you can take the right arm like a wing as the gaze follows it over towards the right fingertips. If this feels a little awkward on your neck, you can take your left hand and put your palm, the left palm behind your head. I know for myself as a kind of a cerebral person, someone who can do a lot of thinking and analyzing of things, and that can be a really good way to solve problems, but it doesn't necessarily address the question of what do we need? You know, what does my body need now? Sure, maybe this big thing happened or this big thing is going to happen, and maybe we have responsibility for what happened or what will happen. But we also need to find that quiet moment to check in, to notice what our internal weather is, that state, and then choose to do those self-care things that bring us back to neutral or where we want to be. Sometimes that might be yoga. Sometimes it might be, right, a funny movie or a good cry or a scream. We have about 1 more minute in our twist. If all of the sensation has subsided out of your spine and your twist and you want to go deeper, maybe you move your ball or your block aside and see what it feels like if the knees come to the ground. And if that's too much, just back off a bit. If the hand is behind the head, you can release that. Bring the gaze towards the ceiling so the cervical spine comes out of the twist. And then carefully let the knees come back to center, the feet come back to center, the hips come back to center. And we pause, this sacred, radical pause of not doing anything, of just noticing instead of thinking, feeling instead of doing. When you're ready, which may not be now, take as much time as you need. We'll go to the second side. Stepping into my feet, the hips come off the ground slightly as I swing my hips slightly over to the left. My knees will come in towards the chest and then they fall over to the right, likely supporting them with some sort of prop so that the pose isn't too intense, but deep enough where you feel some sensation. As the gaze follows over the left hand, which comes out in that T shape, you could bring the right hand behind the head if that helps to support the neck. And that pause, that radical pause, to find that moment where we can be quiet, tune in and listen. And as an adult, that's really challenging. Life is so busy. There's always another problem to solve, and when that one's solved, something else is ready to be done, and there's never going to be this moment where there's not something, right, nipping at our heels. And this radical pause takes courage and persistence and strength. Also faith. Faith that less time for work and more time for self works out better in the end. One more minute on this side. Notice if you need to go deeper or stay. Adjust if necessary. When you're ready, slowly start to make your way out of the second side and find that neutral pause one more time. Okay, we're gonna come up to a seat. So you might roll to one side and press yourself up. We're gonna take Sukhasana, which is a cross-legged pose. And it can be helpful to sit on something. So you could use a bolster or a folded up blanket, maybe folded thickly if you're using a blanket. And whatever shin crosses in front naturally, you can go ahead and just let that be how you start, and we'll make sure that we have equal time on both sides. So Sukhasana seems so simple, but it's such a powerful pose. The original dozen or so yoga poses in the Yoga Sutras were all just to ready the body for seated Sukhasana, because it can be a challenging pose. With that said, sit up higher if you need to, even on a stool like the one over there. If height helps you, A-okay. Right, just cross your shins in front like you were doing Sukhasana on the floor. And then, can you close your eyes? For many, closing the eyes helps to turn the drishti, or our focus, inside the body. For some, it causes anxiousness, so notice, choose. If the eyes are open, see if you can keep the gaze to one thing, preferably something that's not moving. And then this powerful meditative breath of drawing the inhale through the nose, down to the lowest part of the abdomen and letting the belly rise and fall. So this is a really simple meditative process that I'm going to share with you, something that I do that helps me start each day with a moment, or when I remember to, right? Definitely not perfect. A moment each day to check in with myself. And the first is a grounding breathwork counting, and we'll do that now. And so what we'll do is we'll count our breath. And as you inhale, that's 1. Your next inhale is 2. And keep going with that all the way till you get up to 10. Just counting the inhales. And when you get to 10, then you'll count your inhales from 10 back to 1. The counting is really powerful to slow the thoughts of the mind. And then when you get down to 1 again, you'll let go of the counting and you'll just hold space for 2 more minutes and we'll notice. You don't have to be worried that nothing's going to be noticed or that something specific is going to be noticed. All we have to do is just wait and see and listen to what pops up. What pops up might be a feeling. It could be a thought. Whatever pops up, don't work it just yet. Go back to the listening. You can open your eyes. So if you have a piece of paper nearby and you want to write it down, or you want to write it down at the end of the class, it can be helpful to take a few more moments sometime during the day, maybe in one of our next poses. You could meditate on that or think of that, of given what I felt or what I'm thinking and knowing where I want to be, what will get me from that state to that state, right? Taking care of the self opposed to solving the, finding the solution, whatever the external thing is. Okay. So that was our Sukhasana. And then you can always kind of switch what legs you do. I think I had said we do both legs. We didn't. I forgot. So, and that's fine. Maybe tomorrow when you do it, when you have a moment, making that into your day, you can have the other shin forward. Okay, so we're going to move on to some heart openers. And for this one, I'm going to use probably a folded blanket or a Corgeous ball if you have it, maybe even both. Corgeous ball on top of my folded blanket, or if you have a pad or something that you kneel on, that could be another good prop too. And we're going to come into melting heart. I'm kneeling on something soft. I'm going to keep my hips over my knees as I bring my heart down to rest to that prop. So then you kind of decide, is that deep enough? Is it too deep? Do I need to support myself more by making or stacking things a little bit higher, maybe with a throw pillow on top of the blanket? Do I need to unfold my blanket to make it a little bit lower? And that might all change during the pose. Sometimes we get into it and sensation subsides. And if we're doing that good listening, we can, move a prop out of the way so that we can go deeper. Or if we're feeling that the body's getting tensious, we can grab another prop and add it and come out of the pose slightly. So be open to all of that adjusting within. And then with that said, also try to find something that you can be comfortable with, at least to start, so we can get to some stillness. And my arms will extend out in front of me. The wider I take my hands apart, the easier it will be for the shoulders. You could also bend the elbows a little bit. The more I extend the arms out in front of me, the deeper it will take me. And then depending on what props are underneath your chest, you might let your head fall to the ground, you might let your head hang, or you could use another prop to rest your forehead into. It's really important in yin yoga that we find a variation of the pose where it's not causing too much tension or stress in the body. And then we'll move from kind of that listening, that easy, restful state to a state where we're just kind of maybe worrying or thinking about the sensation. So notice if that happens too. Sometimes they say it's better to err on the side of doing a little bit less than more. Okay. We're going to come into Sphinx Pose next. So you can come to your palms, lift your chest, slide your props aside, but keeping them within reach. And then bring the front of the hips down to the mat. And for this variation, we'll take the arms out a little bit further forward and take the Corgeous ball and put it right towards the sternum. Or if you have a throw pillow, you could use a throw pillow or the stuffed animal for this. Or even a bolster, maybe the narrow end of a bolster, you could do this. And if you feel like this isn't enough, again, just like in our previous pose, you could build whatever you have up underneath your ball or underneath your pillow or your stuffed animal, so that you feel a gentle compression that feels okay in your chest, but you're also either lifted or lowered to a point where your back feels okay in this pose. And when we use this Corgeous ball, it's that nice self-massage. The pressure is this myofascial release, and these airy balls provide that in a really gentle way, or stuffed animal, whatever you're using, where it's kind of very much in line with that self-compassion of being easy, getting out of the habit or feeling like we need to do more or push it. Maybe it feels a little bit like a hug. In this pose, you want to be tuned in to the energy flowing in your body, your breath. You want to feel easeful in your mind as well as your muscles. And you want to feel a little bit of sensation in your spine. So if you're not feeling enough, you could come up a little bit higher. You could use blocks underneath your forearm. If you're feeling too much, you could slide that Corgeous ball out of the way. Maybe it's just too much for right now. Right? What do I need? Not what should I do or what's best or what do I think is perfect or ideal or that I need to work. But right now, I'm listening and this is what I need. Okay, we're going to come into seal pose. To come into seal pose, the chest is likely going to lift from the props as we press the arms down, or press the hands down and let the arms straighten up off the mat. You don't have to set the props aside, and you want to be careful that you're not doing too much twisting. As you press your hands down into your mat, if you feel that you're slipping, one trick is to grip the edges of your mat. And the closer you walk your hands towards your body, the more intensity you'll feel. The opposite is true. I can walk my hands further away. Notice if the muscles are clenching or tensing. It could be that you just need to breathe and bring a little bit of awareness and they might soften. And if it keeps coming back, come out of the pose a little bit sooner just by laying completely flat on your belly down to the mat. I have this poem that I want to share in honor of this self-care sequence here. Let us have our strong emotion. Let's speak our truth from the pit of our belly. Let's scream and release into the air and run until our anger melts to tears. But let us be gentle with each other. Let us wrap our words in humility and kindness. Find a soft spot of acceptance and hold space for each other like a nest. All right, we'll slowly start to come down to that restful prone belly down shape, letting the arms come down. And we're gonna come into our baby croc pose, taking the elbows nice and wide, stack the palms, and then rest the head down. Send some nice billowing breath into the lower back. We'll take the knees bent with the feet lifting. Let the feet fall side to side for windshield wipers. And then the legs will come down and we're gonna come into a frog pose. I'll take my left knee up and out to the side with the bent knee. Now my left foot is kind of right about out from the opposite leg, just as much as my knee, but it doesn't have to be. It feels better. It feels better for your foot to be tucked back towards your seat or your opposite leg. That's okay too. And give yourself some padding if it's coming out onto some hard floor. If you want to use the Corgeous ball or whatever soft prop you've been working with, you could tuck that in the crease of your upper left hip, where your left hip meets your lower abdomen. And that's another opportunity for a little self-massage. And we'll take the arm into a twisting variation if that feels good. If not, you can stay in this baby crocodile kind of upper body shape. If you want to twist, the torso will lift. You press down with your left hand and your right arm will thread underneath. You could use a block to rest the head, either the forehead or the temple down. You might notice that self-massage happen when you draw the breath down to the lowest part of the belly and the belly gently presses to the ball. And thinking of the poem and thinking of our self-care, sometimes I find that it's those times in life where I'm neglecting what I need, that can build up, and then, you know, it just happens to come out or at somebody else. So that self-care is definitely connected to our ability to kind of find love and compassion, right? To muster that kind of courage for others. You can stay as you are or bend the right leg so that the right foot lifts. It will come closer to your seat. And the left hand can reach back for that foot. This is where you might use the strap. If you have a strap or long sleeve t-shirt. If you can't make contact with the foot and the hand, you could use that strap. But if it feels too much on the knee, the twisting frog pose without this little addition here is plenty fine, so you can let go of the foot if it's not going to work out. If you still have your right foot, you can release. The left arm can come down. If you're using a prop, pillow, Corgeous ball underneath your hip, you can set that aside. Your left leg will come long. So many steps to undo in this pose, and then we've got to take out our twist. I can unthread my right arm. I'll move a little bit over to the left side of my mat so that when I take my frog pose on the second side here, I have space to protect my knee and my ankle. So I've bent my right leg and my right knee comes out, my right foot comes out. I might put that Corgeous ball now on the front of the right hip. I could stay with the crocodile variation, both elbows wide and palms stacked, or I can take the twist, threading my left arm underneath my right, and bringing my left temple or my forehead down. If you want to add in the leg grab here, the left knee will bend, the left foot lifts and comes closer to the seat. The right hand could reach back, or you could lasso with a strap. And we'll slowly start to release the foot, the Corgeous ball, the prop, the right leg, and the left arm. Okay. And then we'll come back to our baby crocodile, both elbows wide, resting the head down. Okay, for our last pose, we're going to come into broken wing. To come into broken wing, I'm going to take my left arm into a goalpost shape. My right palm will press down into the ground. As I roll to my left side, I'm going to bend both knees up towards my chest. It might feel nice to put a Corgeous ball on the left side chest. Also a block to rest the temple. This might be really intense for your chest and your shoulder. So respect if your body's asking to come out a little sooner and do so. We won't be in this pose too long, just a couple minutes, maybe a minute and a half longer from here. All right, both legs will straighten, if not already, and then roll back to the abdomen. And we'll set that up on the other side. You can bring your right arm into the goalpost shape. Left palm presses down, and as I roll to the right, both of my knees will bend up towards my abdomen. You could put the Corgeous ball in the left side chest and bring the head down to a prop. This is one of my favorite places to use the Corgeous ball or the tuna balls. With all the work that we do, our chest can get really tight and that leads to bad posture. But it's also a really sensitive area. And even if you have the time and the means to get a massage, it's often an overlooked or skipped over area for, obvious reasons. So it's nice when you can do this work yourself and give yourself a little love. We'll start to come out of the second side. Both legs come long. Roll back to the abdomen. Props aside. And baby crocodile. Okay, we're gonna take our final rest or Shavasana pose. And it's a little uncommon to take final rest laying on the abdomen as we are, but I'm feeling motivated to do so, but you could do so in any shape. And maybe you just close your eyes, take a few breaths, and ask yourself, and what shape do I want to take final rest in? And without even questioning, just do that, whether it's on your back, your abdomen, fetal shape on your side. Take a few long breaths in through the nose, exhaling out the mouth. Maybe it's a sigh. Maybe it's as if you're blowing out the candles of a cake. And when you're ready, take some small movements back towards your body into an upright position, slowly, steadily. Whatever upright seated shape feels nice for you. And take a few breaths. Notice the space you created in your body and your mind. We'll bring our hands to heart center. Anjali Mudra, right? Gratitude for ourselves, all that we have. Together we breathe in. Exhale out. Namaste. Thank you for joining me in this practice, this self-care yoga, and taking it off our mat and remembering that radical self-care. Take care. Thank you very much.